The year is, well, the year is whatever year you want it to be, but it's World War One. And Mussolini has been kicked out of the Socialist Party group of Italy. Well, let me explain a little bit on that. So, Mussolini was a socialist. And during World War One, the socialists were all against war. So, make love, not war. But then he started seeing the good side of there being a war, which would overthrow the monarchies, and he started going pro-war, and then the socialists kicked him out of the party. This then ultimately led to him beginning the new political system, which was fascism, or as he called it, fascismo. But what if Mussolini stayed a socialist and may even, evolve into a communist? That's what I'm going to be exploring today. What if Benito Mussolini wasn't a fascist? Now, to do this, we don't really need to change anything apart from the fact when he goes pro-war. So, World War One is over, and Mussolini is glad, along with his fellow socialists, that the monarchs have been thrown over Europe, and war is over. Italy has got some land, but not enough land. Now, along with the Russian Civil War, which is going on, while many of the Western world is helping out the whites, Mussolini decides, why don't we help out the communist forces and see them as a potential ally? This is when the Socialist Party starts evolving to the Communist Party. Now, they help out the Reds, and obviously the Reds win. I might make an alternate scenario about that. And through Mussolini's careful planning and tacticianing, he is appointed head of the Socialist Party. Well, it's now the Communist Party of Italy. And in the same way he does to become Prime Minister as a fascist, he does to become Prime Minister as a socialist. So now we have the birth of Prime Minister Mussolini of the Communist Party of Italy, and Italy, instead of being known as the Kingdom of Italy or just Italy, it is now known as the Italian Workers' Union, or IWU. IWU. Why couldn't I have thought of a word that begins with O, so then it could be IWO, and then if Jima was running it, then it'd be Iwo Jima. But anyway, Mussolini seeks an alliance with Joseph Stalin, and surprisingly, he accepts. Having another vassal in Europe wouldn't be too bad, now would it? And since Italy didn't get what was rightfully claimed to them at the end of the First World War, Mussolini decides, let's go to war with Yugoslavia to gain our territory that we deserve. And Stalin backs him all the way, but backing the Yugoslavs is Zog from Albania. So he could essentially kill two birds with one stone here. So Mussolini invades Yugoslavia and takes what he needs and says goodbye. This is the point where a silly little man with a mustache must come to power. But I know what you're thinking. If Mussolini goes socialist, then fascism never rises. But actually, it does. And Germany still becomes the German Reich because everyone's forgotten nation, Japan, is still fascist. Obviously because of imperialism. So Germany and Japan have coincided with each other to, help each other. And it's through this where Hitler rises. Now, they don't have the power of Mussolini, but they still Anschluss Austria, and they still take the Czech Republic and puppet Slovakia. But then it comes time to invade Poland. Now, Mussolini sees this as a threat to his Soviet ally and says, if you go to war with Poland, then we will declare war on you to save our Soviet ally. Now, Stalin hears about this and he's like, whoa, okay, let's just simmer down a bit. And the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact happens, but there's a slight alteration. Instead of just carving up Poland between the Reich and the USSR, Germany will also invade Switzerland and give part of Switzerland to Italy and part of Austria to Italy in compensation. Now Mussolini's like, okay, I can deal with this. And so World War II begins. Now Germany makes quick work of Switzerland and Italy, and Mussolini gets his land as well from Austria. But then they go to invade France and that area. And this is where Mussolini plays clever, because he asks for a conference between the French Prime Minister, the British Prime Minister, Italian Prime Minister, and Soviet General Secretary to meet in, let's say, Rome, and discuss how they're going to take down the German Reich. Now, Stalin, he's signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler. This would be seen as going behind his back, and Hitler will probably hate him forever for as long as he lives, which won't be very long. But France and Britain approve of this idea of betrayal. For France to, hold essentially, and for Italy to start invading into southern Germany, hopefully distracting some armies while the Soviets get their armies on the border in Poland, and while Britain obviously gets their troops to the front line. Will we see a Dunkirk-style invasion? No. We will see an invasion, obviously, from an encirclement at some point, but all it is French and British troops transported from Dunkirk down to another northern coast to continue the war, just so that the Soviets can get their troops ready on the border to hopefully distract Germany. And then, in September 1940, yes, September, the French have held on for this long, how I don't know, the invasion begins. Now this operation is called Operation Backstab. I know, it's really original. But Mussolini invades through Austria and Switzerland, two which are very, very undefended, while Stalin pushes through to the original borders with Germany. At the same time, the French, the Brits, and whatever Benelux nations are still in the fight start pushing back into the minor powers of Western Europe. And the French even go as far as to invade across the Maginot Line into the Saarland. By 1941, Germany is back to its normal borders and beyond. And to be honest, Hitler is kind of screaming his heart out, saying, why would they do this? And then by mid-1941, when the Germans are meant to invade the Soviet Union, the Soviets invade Berlin. Now, since the Germans haven't got the industrial capability or the manpower to defend it, Berlin falls easily. Now, over in Asia, Japan has invaded China, and they've also invaded the Soviet Union. But they know if Germany falls, they will not last long at all. So, the war is over, and how is Europe carved up? Well, This map, in red, is the communist states of Europe. In blue is the democracies. And in orange is the fascists. Now, I have altered the colours slightly, just so you can differentiate the countries. This is what the peace deal turns out. The French get the Rhineland and a bit of more of the border with Switzerland. Switzerland is liberated. Austria, well, part of it is firmly in Italian hands. The Soviets have taken Berlin and set up the communist state of East Germany. And France and Britain set up the democratic West Germany. Now, what happens later in life when ultimately the Cold War ends? Well, there is no Cold War. There is no nukes. There is no need to badmouth anyone. They've all worked together really quickly, and the US are still not involved. Hell, the Japanese don't even attack Pearl Harbor. But now there's Japan to deal with, and, well, let's just say they get kicked out of Manchuria pretty quick, kicked out of Korea, and then the Brits start planning for an invasion from Hong Kong into the southern island, straight into Nagasaki. This goes to plan in early 1942. And Japan is divided into occupation zones. You have North Japan, which is communist, essentially the same as North Korea. And then you have South Japan, which is democratic. Now, Korea isn't actually split. Korea is one unified nation, as it will bring upon a whole new nation of StarCraft players to challenge us. And that is how the world is. The US don't ever invest in the Manhattan Project. If anyone's going to do it, it's probably going to be Stalin and Churchill working together. But that is one scenario. One in a plethora, in an ocean of possibilities. Let me know what you think about what if Mussolini went communist in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this alternate history scenario, and I will see you next time for another history video.